Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to the Arabic Qahwa Podcast. Ahlan wa sahlan. I'm excited to have you. And today I want to talk about al-karam or generosity. Now, the virtue of generosity is something that the Arabs held in very high esteem even before the advent of Islam. Even in the period of Jahiliyyah, the Arabs knew generosity or al-karam to be something very praiseworthy. So you find that the Arabs, they were generous before the advent of Islam in the period of Jahiliyyah, and you find that the Arabs are very generous people even today. If you enter an Arab home, taking care of the guest is something they hold as something very important to them. So if you enter a rich Arab household, you find a lot of this. They really go out of their way to take care of you as their guest. But what is even more amazing is that even if it is a very poor household, the people are just trying to make the ends meet, but still you find that if you're their guest, they will really, spend even what they don't have or what they can't afford to spend to make you happy and take care of you and show their generosity towards their guest. So this is something incredible about the Arabs. And today I want to talk about a person who is known just for his karam, for his generosity. He is famous because of how generous he was. And this person, his name is Hatim Taee. Hatim Taee, he lived before the age of Islam, the period of Jahiliyyah, but his son Adi later on accepted Islam. Now, Hatim Taee, his stories are very interesting, because he used to really go out of his way in being generous, to the extent he would go to the extremes, to the extent that sometimes it will harm himself and his family, because he used to give away everything that he had out of generosity. And his wife or his mother, she used to criticize him because of his spending habits and how he used to just give away wealth like this. So once Hatim replies to her in his poetry, and he says, وَقَائِلَةٍ أَهْلَكْتَ فِي الْجُودِ مَا لَنَا, and she says that you have destroyed our wealth out of your jood, out of your generosity. وَنَفْسَكَ حَتَّى ضَرَّ نَفْسَكَ جُودُهَا, you have even destroyed yourself to the extent that your generosity is harming yourself. You're hurting yourself out of generosity. فَقُلْتُ دَعِينِي إِنَّمَا تِلْكَ عَادَةٌ, so I said to her, Hatim says, leave me alone, for it is verily a habit. لِكُلِّ كَرِيمٍ عَادَةٌ يَسْتَعِيدُهَا, and every generous man has his own habits. He has his own way. And this is my way. This is what I'm used to. This is what I do. I give away. I spend my wealth in generosity. So Hatim Taee, his stories are really amazing. It is said that once Hatim went out of his country for some need. And in a faraway land, there was this prisoner. So this man, he recognizes Hatim. And in those days, if you're taken as a prisoner of war, you have to pay the ransom to free yourself. So this man, he's stuck here as a prisoner, and he recognizes Hatim. So he calls him out by name. And Hatim says, "Woe to you! I don't have any money, nor am I in my own land. I'm in a different country. I'm not carrying anything. But you have called me by name, so I have to help you now." So Hatim, he doesn't have anything to free this man. So what does he do? He tells his captors, "Leave him, let him go and bring his ransom, and until he comes back, I will take his place as a prisoner. I'll be your prisoner instead of him until he brings back the fidya, or the ransom, to free himself." And it is said that this man went and he brought back the fidya, and Hatim was able to go on his way. It is said that every night Hatim would ask his servant to light a fire, because if anyone is lost on their way, they will see the fire of Hatim and they would come to him and he will welcome them as his guests. Subhanallah. And one of the Caesars of Rome, he heard the stories of Hatim and he couldn't believe it. He couldn't believe the stories of this generous man. So he wanted to test him. So he had heard that Hatim has a very valuable horse that he used to like very much. So the king, or the Caesar, he sends an assistant to Hatim. He sends an assistant to Hatim, and he tells him to ask Hatim to give this horse to the Caesar as a gift. So he wanted to test him by this action. So this man, he comes to Hatim and he immediately welcomes him, not knowing he is the assistant of the king. So as a normal guest, he welcomes him and he feeds him and is kind and generous to him. And after all this, the man says, "I am the assistant of the king, of the Caesar, and he has sent me to ask you for your horse." So Hatim, he becomes very upset. He says, "Why did you not tell me this in the beginning? Because when I couldn't find any camel or anything to slaughter, I slaughtered the horse for you." So the messenger, he says, "We have seen with our own eyes greater than what we have heard about you." This was the generosity of Hatim at-Taee. Now I want to share some of his beautiful poetry with you. Things he says about generosity and the importance of giving away your wealth freely and not being stingy with it. He says, إِذْ أَنْتَ أُعْطِيتَ الْغِنَى, if you're given wealth, al-ghina, ثُمَّ لَمْ تَجُدْ, and you are not generous, بِفَضْلِ الْغِنَى أَلْفَيْتَ مَانَكَ حَامِدُ, you will, if you're not generous with the bounty of wealth, you will find that you have no one to praise you. وَمَاذَا يُؤَدِّي الْمَالُ أَنْكَ وَجَمْعُهُ, and what will money do to make you praiseworthy? إِذَا كَانَ مِيرَاثًا وَوَارَاكَ لَاحِدُ, if it becomes inheritance and in front of you is the person who buries you. So how will money and compiling it help you when it is going to be inherited and someone is going to bury you? So he says you have to spend it when you have it and earn praise. This is something he wanted. He wanted to be praised for his generosity. And as I said, his wife, his family, they used to criticize him severely for how he used to spend money. So he says, replying to them, أريني جوادا مات هزلا لألني, show me a single generous person who has died out of poverty. And subhanAllah, this is something Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he told us. He said, "Ma naqasat sadaqatun min al-mal." Sadaqah or charity has never decreased anyone's wealth. So subhanAllah, this is the same principle that Hatim used to believe in. He said, "I have not seen any generous man who has died out of poverty. It never happens. لَعَلَّنِي أَرَى مَا تَرَيْنَ." Show me so that I can understand where you're coming from. I can understand what you're talking about. أَوْ بَخِيلًا مُخَلَّدًا, or show me a stingy man who has lived forever. Every man, he dies, even if he's stingy. And if you are generous, you are not going to die out of poverty. And he says, finally, I want to share this with you, something that he says about himself. He says, "Alam ta'lami anni idha dayfuna bani." Do you not know that if the guest seeks me, وَعَزَّ الْقِرَى, and the qira is not to be found. No one is feeding the guests. No one is welcoming the guests because they are in a terrible situation of hardship. No one can afford to be generous. In that situation, if a guest seeks me out, what will happen? أَقْرِ السَّدِيفَ الْمُسَرْهَدَ, I will give the sanam. The sadif is the sanam, or the hump of the camel. This is the most exotic part of the camel. Al-musarhada, not just any camel, the hump of a fat camel. So he says, in this situation of hardship, if I have a guest, I will slaughter the camel to take its most valuable part and feed him. Subhanallah. So this was Hatim at-Taee. But if you think about it, sometimes you can be too generous, as Hatim sometimes was. If you don't have any limits and, you're spending away even what is most essential, sometimes it can be harmful to yourself and to your family. This is why I find what the Quran says about this matter the most eloquent and meaningful of all. More meaningful and eloquent than everything we have read today. What does Allah Azza wa Jal say about spending? He says, وَلَا تَجْعَلْ يَدَكَ مَغْلُولَةً إِلَىٰ عُنُقِكَ. Do not make your hands as if they are chained to your neck. وَلَا تَبْسُطْهَا كُلَّ الْبَسْطِ. Nor extend it fully. فَتَقْعُدَ مَلُومًا مَحْصُورًا. So that you become blamed and insolvent or bankrupt. So this is a beautiful expression. Do not make your hands chained to your neck, nor extend it fully, but follow the middle path. Give generously, but have your limits, and most importantly, don't be stingy. Subhanallah. So this is a beautiful lesson of the Quran, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. Let me know what you think. I would love to hear your feedback, and if you're enjoying these episodes, it will be great if you can leave us a review on iTunes, or if you're listening on YouTube, a like and a subscribe. Jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.